Hi guys, I'm Adriana, and this is Julie.
Hello, and I have autism.
And I don't. This is our new podcast. Thanks for listening today. Hello everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the Neuroatypical podcast. First, we want to start out by saying thank you for all of the support we received on our first soft opening episode. It meant so much to Julie and I to see all the responses and the people listening and enjoying, and I just want to say thank you so much.
We would also appreciate if you leave us a review so that way we can read some of them before the podcast, for the next podcast to begin. So that way we can get some feedback and try to enhance our podcast a little bit better for our listeners.
So please leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes! We had one listener from our previous episode, and she had a question for us.
This listener asked, if I wanted to throw a birthday party, how could I make the birthday party more comfortable for an autistic guest? I think one thing that you can do that's really easy and simple is to plan ahead.
Just knowing that there's an invite automatically means that we know a little bit what to expect, and because it's something out of the norm, we have to adjust to it. I think for a lot of us, we just like to know. We'll probably just ask the question, if you want to invite me.
Even if it's an event that they can't go to, just that gesture of inviting it means a lot.
Personally, I like for my friends to understand that, sometimes I don't always have to go to everything, but, sometimes going to other things is okay.
Even talking it out and just having that understanding that even though the person with autism isn't coming to the other half of the night, or maybe is unable to make it at all, just having that understanding that you know that they care about you and you let them know that you still care about them. Mm-hmm. And you have that understanding and bond is important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Friendship conquers everything. Which leads to our next topic of our episode.
Yay.
It's going to be about change.
So let's say you are going to the grocery store. Let's just say you wake up on a Saturday morning and you have a list of errands you want to run. And you wrote them all down on your list. And then your significant other calls and asks for you to go to the grocery store. Immediately, your entire day that you just planned is thrown off. So we're going to talk about that change. When someone tells you you need to go to the grocery store and you're on the phone and there's that split second where you're processing that change. For someone who is a neurotypical like me, that would not affect me. I would go to the grocery store and I would go along with my day and not have to deal with any of that emotion. The person who is atypical, like Julie,
me,
would have a negative response to this.
The fact that, I plan everything so accordingly, just so everything would just fit in a puzzle correctly. It's kind of like programming or coding. Mm-hmm. If you do the coding out of sequence, then it won't run the way it should.
And that is you.
And that is me.
That is like the hallmark of autism is repetitive behaviors and rigidity to like routine. Like you have to stick to your routine.
Yes.
Or else.
Yeah.
Sky is falling.
I don't
Did
know.
you just imagine a sky falling?
Yes. I don't think skies will.
So like the first thing I think of when I think of change is a new beginning. But the process of the change is not at all difficult for me. So all I think about is the positive.
Well, more recently, change for me has been very positive. It doesn't excuse that I get anxiety from them.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. We're saying the same thing. I'm saying that I don't get anxiety when there's change. But like for you, because you have that anxiety at first.
Yeah, but I'm still excited, but very anxious. If the change is an unknown thing, it's obviously kind of a scary place.
Right.
And it makes you like the unknown makes you feel unease.
Mm-hmm. So I think
But
that
whenever it happens, then if it becomes positive, then it's a really wonderful feeling.
So was change easier to manage as an adult or a child?
I wasn't okay with it when I was a child. I was very quiet and very alone.
Mm-hmm.
I just know I was different.
You didn't know you had autism. You were diagnosed really late in life.
Autism or mental health, it's not really mentioned in a lot of Asian cultures, and so we don't talk about those things.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like a known thing to even know that I had it.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived my life in rules.
Mm-hmm.
But not because rules of autism, it's rules of my parents
And the culture.
in the culture. I do know that change in adulthood is very different. So that
Right.
is a learning process.
It's just like the changes of adulthood are
Yeah.
like creating your own life,
Yeah.
which is in turn creating your own routine.
Mm-hmm.
Is very
Like trying to set those routines
Mm-hmm.
from what I've always been used to new stuff. One change that was very difficult as an adult was moving. Yeah.
Because I grew up very freeform, and so to live with you is very different. Like, I know for dinner time, my family, I mean, we had dinner, but, I mean, we could all sit in different places in, like, the living room or the kitchen and still talk to each other. It wasn't necessarily a table. And for your family, there was. And there was also, you ate the same meal. My family, we cooked, like, once we were old enough, we just each cooked something different that we wanted and then ate it.
Yeah, no.
So it's very different than you.
Yeah. We had very set things that we did together.
Actually, I didn't even think about it until now, but that's like a change that I didn't even realize that you were processing. And that was a rule you had your entire life.
Yeah.
Until I broke the rule.
And even if I didn't if I didn't finish my meal, I had to sit at the table until I finished it. And that's why I always eat all my food. Of course, in adulthood, I learned that you can also, like, pack up your food and to go at home now. And I was like, wait a second, you can eat this the second time? Oh my gosh.
Because sometimes when we were first dating, we would go to the restaurant and you would, I don't know where you would put it. And
I ate it all.
Because it's Julie's rule that she grew up with. Like, you have to finish your food.
Or you can't leave the table.
And this is literal for Julie. So, like, when we would go out, she would breathe a little hard or, like, whatever. But as we got to know each other more, I would, touch her belly. I'd be like, it's tight. Because every time she stuffs herself, her stomach skin is, like, as tight as can be. It's going to pop. And so,
solid.
Right? I thought Julie just liked to eat that much, so I asked her to finish my food for me, and she would do it. And so then one day, I decided, like, this is unreal. I'm going to try to do what Julie does and eat. And so then when we were finished, I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe. I've never eaten this much before. I can't. And I was like, am I having a heart attack? Because my heart was beating so fast and I could not breathe. I was just so stuffed. And I was like, is this how you feel? And she's like, all the time.
Yeah, it's normal.
And I was like, no, Julie, it's not normal. And then we had the mind-opening discussion that you can take it home. And it's okay.
Yeah.
To do that. And that was like a big deal for you.
Yes. It's very good that you can eat it a second time.
Mm-hmm. More for later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? It's like buying 2 meals for one.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was very eye-opening.
So let's talk about how we can help our loved ones with autism navigate changes in life. So whenever I know that Julie's going through significant changes or even just weekly changes, I know that there's not really much that I can do to change what she's reacting to or influence it, but I can help her adjust. So usually if it's a normal week, we haven't had any major life changes, I find that she'll stay pretty quiet about work or about any life events, even if they're good changes. I don't hear about them until the weekend, which is Friday night or all day Saturday. She will tell me about her entire week. So that we never have that time when we're like, so tell me about your day, honey. It's always like, Saturday is unloading time. That's when she tells me all of her information.
Yeah, it's storytelling.
Yes, she story tells every single thing. And I'm impressed that she remembers the entire thing. So I think it's honoring whatever way that your loved one or your friend who has autism, honoring whatever way they want to communicate with you, and just being that open-minded source that they can come to and display their, changes or life information in any way that is comfortable for them, and just being that soundboard. I think especially you've taught me is you don't need me to fix. You don't need me to fix it or try to do things. You just need me to just.
I don't want you to do things for me because that makes me feel unempowered.
Right.
To do.
We want to empower. Sometimes being an ally and empowering somebody with autism is just letting them be and letting them do it.
Let them work through the challenges.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Please leave us a review and follow us so you can get updates for our next podcast.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say, Jules?
Thank you for listening.
All right. Bye-bye.